There's a lot that I like in this neighborhood. This is one of the only affordable places where you can actually have a single-family home and be off the park. I love using the park amenities, and when you live here, we have the pedestrian bridge, so you're there in like 2 seconds.
One of the best parts of being here in the neighborhood is the diversity and people who love to either they're into cooking or they're into gardening. And most of all, I think I love it when people are into crafts because their imagination soars with all the things that they're creating.
I enjoy Shoto because it's a quieter street. The parking off of the back is quiet and there's not a lot of traffic that comes up and down my back. And as a single woman living by myself, I feel that it's necessary to be safe to get in and out of the car.
There's a whole lot of creativity, a lot of things that I know I can get involved in.
Every block is unique in Forest Park, and that's part of the reason why we like it. But that's also part of the challenge. What may work for my block may not work for your block at all. Some blocks have large percentages of people that go to the neighborhood meetings. They know all about what's going in the neighborhood. Other blocks, there's no participation.
The Block Captain program exists to empower citizens as they engage in building a more connected and safe neighborhood. Support, education, and information sharing are used to improve the quality of life for Forest Park Southeast neighborhood residents and visitors.
I started to be a block captain for selfish reasons. I cared about my own safety, my own security, and my property values. I mean, that's usually why most people do things. You know, you have your own some self-interest, which I do, and I did. But the added benefit comes in because you are going to affect people's lives in a lot of ways that are unexpected. There's a lot you can do.
Don't be afraid to be a leader. That's what a captain is, you know. Be proactive, be the spearhead of the operation. Get out there, talk to some people, and if you see some people interested in some things, guide them where they need to go in order to keep on growing this process.
I'm a neighbor, so I mean, I own property on this, so property values are obviously important to me, and that's mainly one of the strongest issues here, is having a secure, safe home. My role as a block captain is to keep listening, observing, and problem solving with individuals, with groups, to see how we can be a better neighborhood, a stronger neighborhood for each other. We're building something here together. And mainly what I'm building with my neighbors is a sense of security, because everybody wants to feel safe in their home. And that's my opportunity to help them feel secure by having block parties, passing out information, sharing resources. That's what I'm so delighted in. We have so many resources here.
I've always said since day one of being a policeman, we can't do the job effectively in neighborhoods without the help of the community itself. Your role as a block captain is so important, and they're the eyes and the ears of the police department. They're an extension of the police department in a way.
Block captains are action-oriented individuals who use their observation, communication, listening, and problem-solving skills to work with their neighbors for the betterment of the community. Block captains are the spokespersons for the residents of their block and the main communication link to the community resources available for their block.
You know, I see a lot of improvements, a lot of building going up, but I don't see that connection. The reason we need a connection is so that everyone living here will care about the property, will care about the schools, will care about each other, will help each other, and get along better. And they need to do that.
The feeling of not being spoken to or being, you know, welcome or a handshake or a wave, that not happening, it just creates more of a divide, and it makes you feel like that, hey, I don't want to stay here, you know.
I guess you just assume all the neighbors really know each other, and you'd be amazed the number of especially newer residents on the street that don't know anybody. You have to understand the block you're working with. And to do that effectively, the very first thing you need to do is, there's no way around this. You have got to go house to house. You have got to talk to the people that live there. You have got to introduce yourself. And if they are not home, then you have to go back. You have to go back several times. Find out the history, find out how long have they lived there? You know, what have been their experiences? What do they like? What don't they like? I personally ask, is there anything on the block that they would like to see that's different? I don't see how you can be a block captain or be effective if people don't even know who you are and don't know where you live. And then they need to have some way to contact you.
When you tell somebody, I'm your block captain, they'll know that there's much more organization going on than they had known about.
I haven't been in this neighborhood working as a police officer in probably 6 years, but everybody here still knows me. And they know my name because I used to talk to them. I still talk to them. That's part of community. We got to be able to interact with one another and not be afraid to say hi to your neighbor.
It's just bridging the gap, you know, being open. So I think that's the best tactic, is to be personable and get out there.
They need to get to know all of their neighbors.
And they need to feel like you're really invested in the neighborhood. That's why they need to know about you. They need to know, what are you doing here? You know, are you planning on staying here? And you will never break down those barriers if you don't actually go talk to the people.
Bridging the gap is literally going out, being personable, shaking a hand, knocking on the door, saying, hey, my name is this, I work over here, I'm a block captain, or I'm involved in a community this way. Would you like to come out and be a part?
You can kind of build a relationship from there. And it takes different forms, you know. Then you can get on a phone call basis or stop by more often, get to know them better. It's as simple as waving when you see people coming out on their porch or walking down the street. You get more interest. It builds momentum as you start doing more things, because as other people on the street start seeing people getting involved, they're at the minimum, they're curious about what's going on. And especially when they see you out, you know, having a fire with your neighbors and just kind of hanging out, or sitting on your porch, you know, talking to people as they go by. It's very casual, but the other neighbors get to know each other a lot better.
Block captains can support their neighborhood by welcoming new neighbors when they get here, being that source of information, being a place for folks to come to ask questions about the things that they're either nervous about, concerned about, worried about, excited about, want to share about, want others to help them with.
My block captain came down and knocked on my door on a random afternoon and said, hello, hey, it's me, Carol Ann. And she just wanted to talk to me and, like, you know, set up a time for us to be able to talk about more what's going on in the community. When she knocked on the door, I was asleep, honestly, and so when I woke up, I came to the door, I wasn't dressed the way I probably should have been or whatever, but the fact that she didn't mind and she didn't even care, she just wanted to make the contact, it just made me feel like really, really good, because a lot of people give promises about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and you really just don't see any fulfillment, you know what I'm saying, behind it. This has only been 2 days. She said, hey, I'll be down there to come knock on your door and come talk to you and everything, and she came down there in the time that she said she would. So just execution, you know, it's a lot of people that talk a lot of good talk, and they just don't do it.
Let me tell you a little bit of too why I like the neighborhood so much is the economic diversity.
For a renter to act like they belong in the community, they need to be treated like they belong in the community. If they're not, then they're not going to act that way because they feel like they never are included. Remember that we have a lot of senior citizens, and keep them included, even if it means going by, talking to them occasionally or whatever the case may be, but make sure that they're included, regardless to what area it is in the community. Yeah, that's what I think would work.
If you're going to be a good person to everyone, treat them all the same, you know, and give them what it is that they need, because you never know, you know, what this person next door to you might be going through, that you can actually be of a service to them just by just saying hello. Hey, my name is this. I work down the street. Oh, you like to drink coffee? Well, I sell coffee.
Just like the other day, a neighbor down there, she just came over, knocked on my door and wanted to borrow an egg. I mean, how often does that happen? So sure, here's an egg. That's that kind of common core values that you want to develop in people, that your neighbors are your friends. You can ask for help. We're very fortunate to have some very creative people in this neighborhood. And our neighbor over at the 4400 of Gibson, she created that watch sign with you'll see the big eyes, like owl eyes. And those we are able to share with our neighbors. It just says to me that this is a watchful neighborhood. We're concerned about who comes into our neighborhood and what you do here. And we do have people who are very watchful of the neighborhood.
And they were designed by actually a neighborhood resident.
Oh, really?
Yes, actually a neighborhood resident designed these.
Oh, that's interesting. And this just indicates that we are eyes on our street.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like to know that people are watching me when I walk down the street. And it's a good,
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
My neighbor across the street just getting home from work late at night. We want to know that so that we can have a lookout for her when she's leaving or coming. That's a sense of what a neighbor is to me.
The block captain on your block can give you a place to go and say, hey, I saw this person, getting a package off of, my next door neighbor's house or porch, and I don't know if they were supposed to be doing that. And then they say, oh yeah, she's out of town and that's her nephew that comes over, or no, they're home and they shouldn't have taken the package. And then oh, okay, well, we do need to report that and we can move forward.
That's pretty important to me. That's what family does. Those are some of the values we don't want to let go of.
Let's say you already have a block captain on your block, but you still want to be involved in building community. The Adopt a Block program was made for you. You'll become an interim block captain on another block. You'll get to know those residents and recruit a permanent block captain who lives on that block. Welcoming new neighbors is a big part of being a block captain. Here's how it's done.
Hi, I'm Samantha. I'm your block captain.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I just wanted to come by and welcome you to the community and to make sure I answered any questions that you have. Have you unpacked everything yet?
We're almost there. So
Almost
we've got
there?
a couple boxes left.
Good. Well, I have here a bag of goodies for you.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome, and there's all kind of information in there, all kind of packets and materials for you. And I also
Great.
have this sign for you to put in front of your lawn.
Oh, cool. What a neat sign.
Yeah. Is it okay if I get some information from you so I can contact you later?
Yes, of course.
Wonderful. What's your phone number?
314-9656.
Okay, great. Well, I'll be in contact with you soon. I'll be sending you some information about new activities that we have going on, so you'll be hearing from me soon.
Okay, wonderful. It was great to meet you.
Great meeting you, Gwen.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye.
I had thrown a block party. In fact, it was because of my neighbors asking, hey, let's do a block party. We contact different people to bring a table or bring something. Definitely food. We'd like people to have an idea that they're going to bring something so that we aren't supplying it all. We get together and talk mainly, enjoy the food. And then afterwards, it only lasts a couple hours, but we go down to Grow Fest, that's it, yeah. And sometimes we do it like early May like this, where we do the Indie Hop. One thing that we discovered last year is that some people don't know what a potluck is. A potluck, in my definition, is you bring something to the reception of food. You bring something to the party. But some people don't know that. Not everybody has it all. And that's why when we have a block party, we share.
The example that I'll use is last Halloween. I had been told by numerous residents that kids did not trick or treat on that street and had not done so for many years.
Why?
Safety concerns. And apparently the police had told people not to. So it just kind of had died out. So the few people that did trick or treat, every year they would get in the car and take their kids to some, Kirkwood or wherever, where they would go trick or treat. And I was disappointed to see that. And the first 2 years I was in the neighborhood, I decorated my house up. I had all my candy, and no kids came. And I was really disappointed. I wanted to change that. So we asked everybody to decorate. I made candy donations because I know for some people that was part of an issue. I went house to house, I flyered, I asked people to participate. People went way above and beyond what I had asked for. I did a few things that I'm not sure I'll do every year, but you need to get the adults involved to get the children. So I gave out beer. And luckily it worked this year. People were surprised, to say the least. I had good beer too, not cheap beer. And they liked it. The adults were so amazed when I, offered them beer. Obviously I made sure they were of age, okay. But they brought their kids and they were just, it's things like that. That's why you become a block captain, those kind of things, because now people feel safe and confident enough to participate. The only thing I'm upset about is I was the person in charge of taking pictures, which will never happen again. I don't know how to take any pictures, so I have no real proof that this happened.
Every day can be a block party. If I'm out barbecuing or doing something like that and someone walks up and they want something to eat, I don't care if I know their name or not, they can get something to eat. You're my neighbor, I see you all the time. If I'm walking down the street and I see the children outside playing and they're jumping rope, hey, I might just jump in and jump rope with them just for a little second.
There's so many different events and activities you can do. I think you want to do whatever is within your means and whatever works with your particular block, with your particular volunteers.
When I wasn't tied up as much as I am, I had these little things called Saturday morning tea parties where I would actually have this bag and have cookies and stuff and go and have them invite other senior citizens to their homes, and we'd sit around and talk for a little while.
I was really happy to see at the end of these events the neighbors were passing off their contact information to each other of their own accord without me facilitating any of that. And so now if somebody's alarm is going off or someone's in someone's backyard that no one recognizes or someone's throwing something at someone's dogs or whatever, there's more people involved. It doesn't always have to go through me.
Don't be afraid to delegate. It can make your job a whole lot easier if you have a lot of people on your team just trying to help you, fulfill that mission of everyone having a wonderful place to live.
When you're trying to get volunteers, there's different levels of involvement that they want to have. I rewarded my top volunteers with gift cards. You don't have to do anything like that. And, I'm not saying that that's the only way you're going to get volunteers, but I wanted them to know how appreciated they were because some of my volunteers really went above and beyond what I'd asked of them or what I even expected, and I want them back next year. So
One challenge is getting people informed.
Anonymity is a really big issue in our neighborhood, and there's a lot of people that are not going to get involved and assist you as a block captain unless they know kind of what the procedure is going to be. And one of the first things that you want to do is you want to address the communication issue.
For instance, I have went around to some of the other areas and talked to people, and they act like, well, I never heard of that. No one ever told me. I didn't know what was going on, which is true. And some of them aren't even renters. Some of them are actually homeowners. We need a better method of sharing information, whether or not it's at the meetings or if it's a email. And like a lot of the senior citizens still wouldn't get that email because some of them don't even do email. So it's not fair. We have to come up with a way that everyone is included.
Obviously, it's a lot easier to send a group text than print up a flyer, but you have to really look at who's on your block and what's the most effective way to communicate with them. I actually have a phone tree, I have a text tree, I have a Facebook page, I do flyering, I do house to house. That way you pretty much catch everyone.
We just need to be inclusive if we're going to say we're a community.
Block captains can use free services like Facebook, Nextdoor, and Google Groups to share information efficiently.
I'd like them to know that there's a neighborhood association now where they can come and speak and hear what some of the issues are. Really, with a neighborhood association, I saw that there was more means of communicating or excuses to get together to introduce yourself.
The Neighborhood Association is an important resource for block captains. Attend meetings to find out useful information, connect with other community members, discuss issues facing the neighborhood, and communicate with elected officials. The Neighborhood Association posts their meeting schedule and other information on their website, which is listed in the Block Captain Handbook. They also post meeting notices throughout the neighborhood.
The challenges definitely are people just kind of getting along and accepting each other from ways of being different.
We are all living in very close quarters, and so what your neighbor does affect you. They are right next to you. They're like a foot away from you half the time.
When there's conflict, I'd like to be there. I'd like to be a person who's a witness to listening to the stories and seeing where there might be some discrepancies or whatever. The main thing I think you can do is just listen to both sides. I'm not a police officer or anything like that, so I don't step in or do anything except listen to conversations and have them know they're heard.
You are going to directly and indirectly benefit all of the people on your street, not just the property values. You know, when you put together different events, when you do block parties, people come out, they enjoy meeting each other. Then if there is a dispute with a neighbor, sometimes instead of calling the NSO, it can be resolved on your block with or without your help, without immediately calling the police or calling the NSO. I mean, that's part of neighborliness. And that is something that I think, sadly, a lot of the suburbs are missing. And that's one of the wonderful things that we have here.
As a kid, you weren't allowed to come here. There was absolutely no driving through this neighborhood. None at all.
What?
Because it was dangerous.
We had a drug problem in the neighborhood, gang problem in the neighborhood several years ago. And it wouldn't have been diminished to what it is today if it wasn't by the help of the community. These individuals that assisted me, that lived in this neighborhood, provided me with a great deal of information that led to the arrest of several gang members and successful convictions on the state and federal level. These citizens' involvement helped this neighborhood become a better place.
As a block captain, you're going to find times where you're probably going to have to call the police. And I got to know the local police really quickly because I was calling them very often. And I identified that I was the block captain, what block I was on, what address I lived at. And they would stop by in their patrol cars and start talking to me. So I got to know them. When they would go by on bikes, if I didn't know them, I would wave at them and say hello and initiate a conversation with them.
We don't want to put you in harm's way. That's not why we're asking you to be a block captain. If you see a robbery in progress, let's not go outside and intervene in that robbery. Let's dial 911.
Oftentimes people don't understand if the police are not aware that it happened, it's like it never happened. And so if there's not a report, even if we can't catch the person that did that one that time, it alerts them to understand that there's some trend forming and that they need to be more watchful.
You just call them and you let them know what's going on. They know who you are. They know where you live. They know whether or not it's a good idea to come right up to your house and to ask you questions. Some people obviously want it to be all anonymous. They don't want to be identified, so you give all the information by phone. You can develop those kind of relationships with the police.
One thing what the community may not understand is when you dial 911 and the dispatchers dispatch that incident to the police officers, it's not just one person hearing it, it's the whole district. What we need to know is if you can see descriptions of cars, time of day when things are occurring, descriptions of individuals that may be the problem. Because a lot of times in neighborhoods we have the same individuals over and over again.
Sometimes people really just don't want to be a bother and they think that calling the police is a bother. Or they think that what happened to them doesn't warrant the police being involved. And they don't understand that it absolutely does. And so we want to encourage them to be okay with feeling comfortable with contacting the police.
Nothing is more important to law enforcement than the safety of those that are helping us. If you call 911, you can always say, I'd like to remain confidential. That is your right. You've done your job. You've provided us with information. Now it's time for law enforcement to do their job. And they definitely won't just show up at your door like I've seen in some movies, which are kind of comical in the movies, but it's not comical in real life. You don't want a policeman knock on your door saying, hey, did you call the police on these 6 gang members that are sitting out here? No, you don't want that happening because your job is to provide us with information, not put yourself into danger. Your role as a block captain is so important. You're helping police officers become part of the community, and you're helping the community grow closer to law enforcement. It's making us a team, and that's what we need in order to make this a better community. The Forest Park Southeast neighborhood has a neighborhood court advocate. Their job is to basically be the liaison between the police department, the court system, and the community.
Helping people in our neighborhood work through the criminal justice system, understand how it works, understand when and how to show and share their voice.
A court impact statement is the neighborhood's ability to communicate with the court system directly. It actually can be used as evidence in a court case.
As long as you're an actual resident within the neighborhood, you can write a statement. You don't have to actually have been like a direct witness or have been directly harmed.
You can write a letter if you've attended a training. You have to understand that what you're putting in it is going to become a piece of evidence that's put into this person's file forever.
Really what they're looking for is, it's right in the name, impact statement. They want to know how it's impacted you. Financially, physically, socially, security-wise, family-wise. You know, how does it make you feel? Has it been any kind of a deterrent to you to walk to the local businesses or anything like that?
It helps the judge assess and sentence more appropriately. To understand that, you know, your car, it's going to cost me $700 to, fix my car, and I've done it 5 times, and now, what do I do? It keeps happening, and why do you keep allowing this person to keep coming back to our neighborhood and doing that? Our hope is that a block captain is recognized on their block as the person that the residents on that block can turn to when they have questions about crime and how to get help with that and how to understand what that process is going to look like or who to point them to.
To learn more about safety and security, visit the Forest Park Southeast Safety and Security website for safety tips, crime statistics, and useful contact information. Make your block beautiful. A well-maintained block deters crime, has more stable property values, and shows community pride. There are lots of ways you can enhance your block, starting with cleaning up your own property. You could also find out what beautification projects your neighbors want to do, help pick a workday, and organize supplies.
When you have a home that's taken care of, you know that there's someone there who's loving where they are, and they're securing that spot and also sharing that beauty with other people.
Graffiti is illegal because it makes our community less attractive, and it drives down property values. Operation Brightside will clean up graffiti for free. Their contact information is listed online and in the Block Captain Handbook. Did you know the City of St. Louis has a customer service department? It's called the Citizen Service Bureau. Contact them with complaints about city services like trash and streetlights. All these resources, including the contact information for the organizations mentioned in this video, can be found in the Block Captain Handbook.
You want this to be a kind of a shining example that people can live together in the urban area and be different and not be intolerant to each other.
I'd like to see the community in the next 10 years actually be a community, that the neighbors all know each other, that they know the businesses. You have to have some kind of method to keep people engaged and that they enjoy doing. You can build a cohesive community and neighborhood that way. You just have to work at it.
And what I have been told by other block captains that have been block captains longer than me is it actually gets easier with time because you develop your routines, you get your core group of volunteers, you're not constantly reinventing the wheel every year. I've been very successful at it in general. I'm really happy with my block because most of the people, once they finally came out and talked to me, we've just, we have a whole new level of relationship, and there's still a lot of work to be done, but at least we started the process and people are more cooperative because the more that they see that I do, the more they want to get involved.